Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to work through an example speaking part 2 question and practice ways you can improve your grade in the test. Let's start with today's question then. Describe a website you often browse. You should say what it is, how long you've been using this site, some further information about the website, and explain why you often browse this website. Okay, I could answer this whole question by saying the following. A website I often browse is the Guardian newspaper website. I've been reading it for years. The site has many different sections, but I'm particularly interested in the education section, the society section, and international news. I browse this site every day because I like to know what's happening in the world. This does cover the key points, but it only takes about 20 seconds to say out loud. Therefore, it's too short to attract a high score in the test. So, how could I expand my answer? Let's have a look. Regarding the what it is prompt, I said, a website I often browse is the Guardian newspaper website, which is factual but not very interesting. An option for expanding would be to say more about this source rather than assuming the listener knows about it. So let's have another go. A website I often browse is the Guardian newspaper website, which is the online version of The Guardian, a well-established source of news in the UK, and is viewed as being left of centre in terms of its general political stance. I used to buy the physical version of the paper years ago, but as times changed, I switched to reading online. This is a much fuller response to the prompt and makes use of some more varied verb constructions. Now let's move on to the how long you've been using this site prompt. My initial answer was, I've been reading it for years. This is accurate, but too brief. An option for expanding would be to pick up from that last point I made in my above expanded answer. Let's have a go. I've been reading The Guardian for years, since I first read it at a friend's house when I was a teenager. I read the printed version off and on for a long time, and then when I first moved to live abroad, I started reading the website version, and the habit has just stuck. I tend to check it in the morning with a cup of coffee. Not only is this a longer response, but it also showcases lots of verb tenses and language for referring to time and frequency, both of which will help to secure a higher score. Moving on to the some further information about the website aspect, my initial answer was, the site has many different sections, but I'm particularly interested in the education section, the society section, and international news. This is probably the most detailed part of my initial answer, but it could still be expanded. In this case, I might choose to expand by saying why. So my revised answer might be, the site has many different sections, such as business, lifestyle, and opinions. But as a teacher, I'm particularly interested in the education section and the society section, as they feel most relevant to my life and work. I also like to read the international news because I have students all over the world and I like to try and get a feeling for what's going on in the places where my students live. This is much more comprehensive and makes use of some clear linking language to help the listener follow the flow of my ideas, which will definitely help to achieve a higher score in the test. Let's finish with the final point, which was explain why you often browse this website. I simply said, I browse this site every day because I like to know what's happening in the world. This answer is fine, but perhaps a little short. There are various ways that it could be expanded, such as saying why I like to know, but because I already covered that in my previous answer, I am instead going to talk about other news sources, like this. I browse this site every day because I like to know what's happening in the world. However, I'm aware that news is always told from a particular perspective, so I make a habit of dipping into other news sources too, such as the BBC and CNN, just to see if the news that they're reporting matches what I've read on The Guardian. Again, this is a much more complete response to the prompt. And because I used specific names rather than just saying other sources, it feels more concrete and convincing. So, I timed myself reading the expanded version of the answer, and it took 1 minute 40 seconds, which is within the 1 to 2 minutes allowed in the test, and more importantly, we can see how much fuller and more interesting the answer became. Before we finish, just a little tip about choosing what to talk about in the test. Personally, there are so many websites that I use regularly that it was a little difficult just picking one to talk about. However, you only have 1 minute of thinking time in the test before you start speaking, so don't waste too much time choosing which thing to talk about. Be decisive and pick one quickly so that you can get on with planning what to actually say. So, now it's your turn. Have a go at writing your own answer to this example question, then read it out loud and time yourself. See if you can get as close to 2 minutes as possible, and then read it out loud a few more times for practice. I hope you found that useful, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with new videos. Thanks for watching, and have a lovely day.